Daniel Starr, welcome to Property Insights, mate.
Thank you very much.
Anyone ever tell you look like Ben Fordham?
A few times.
Serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, then I'm not
All
too
the time.
stupid. I was looking at your photograph here and I thought, wow, it looks like a young version of Ben Fordham.
Well, I tell you what, I don't have the same pay packet, although I think the scan lens comments back and forth between the two of them. Who knows?
Well, welcome anyway.
Thank
So,
you.
and you're a company director of Starr Partners, and are you guys real estate agents for vendors agents?
We're for vendors.
Yeah, you're active for vendors.
Absolutely.
You're the selling agent, and your patch is Merrylands, Pemulwuy, and Wentworthville area.
Correct.
You're not limited to those places.
Surrounding the Parramatta region.
Yeah, so you're not limited yourself to those. You'll sell anywhere for anyone,
within
anytime.
reason.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the story of Starr Partners. I mean, did you set it up, or did your grandfather set it up? What's the deal?
Yeah, my uncle John Starr started over 50 years ago. So we're now a 50-year-old business. My father, 44 years ago, joined my uncle, and around about the time I was born. So we've been in real estate through many generations, and it's been great.
So you're it says in here company director. So you're a director of a business at your uncle, and your dad sort of kicked off many years ago. That's pretty amazing. Did you ever have any choice in it, or did you ever have any thoughts that you didn't want to do this?
I think they actually tried to talk me out of it, Mark.
Really?
Yeah. So I was very a sporting kind of guy, and I loved the sporting industry and really wanted to get down that profession, and they almost pointed me away from it. And I think that was a good thing because I'm naturally an extrovert, so this job's perfect for me. So I gravitated back to it, and I love it.
When you say this job is perfect for you as an extrovert, does that mean... I actually don't know what people mean by extrovert and or introvert, for that matter. What do you mean by an extrovert, and why is an extrovert well positioned in the real estate game?
I think as an extrovert, and it's loosely termed, but I think I get energy out of meeting people, learning people's stories and so on. So I actually get energy from that. Whereas if you're a little bit more introverted, it's probably a bit more of a chore. So, take my father, he's a little bit more introverted, but, he enjoys it, but he has to be a bit more out there, but it's not his...
He has to try harder.
Has to try harder, yeah. Whereas for me, comes natural, but at the same time, other things, maybe, other areas might not, figures and so on, probably don't interest me as much.
Yeah, it's an interesting analysis. Extroversion is maybe it's a superpower for a real estate agent in some respects, but equally introverted people can have more of a moniker of conservatism, and some vendors and or buyers, some vendors might prefer someone who's not out there. They might prefer someone who's a bit more conservative. And it's a bit of a tricky thing. So if you're a young person looking at real estate as an industry, or maybe you're a young person in the real estate game, you just kicked off, you're in your 20s, you're doing it tough because you'll be on the telephones every day, ringing up prospects, trying to find vendors, hardest thing in the world, or trying to win a vendor over, more importantly.
Absolutely.
And maybe haven't even jagged one yet. What would you say to them if they're an introvert or an extrovert? What would you say to them about the real estate industry? Hang in there. What's the deal?
Well, I think that, like you said, I think extroverted people naturally on the phones and so on probably enjoy it more than someone that's more introverted. But without getting into too deep, I think you've got to level yourself out. You've got to read the play. You've got to be that chameleon. You've got to actually see who's in front of you and adapt to their style. You're not there for you. You're there for them. So I think that's really important, that you identify the play in front of you, and you're serving them. In real estate, I think a lot of people get it misjudged. We're a service industry, so we're not necessarily there. A lot of ego in our industry, but what we've got to really understand is that we're a service industry. We're representing vendors. We're representing buyers, and even though we might be vendors agent, we've got to give great service to our buyer. They're sellers in the future also. So I think it's really back to your point, I think really important that we're balanced in that. So even though I could be out there, I think it's important that I center myself, come back to a professional stance. You say if an introverted person or more introverted person comes across, then I'm obviously going to not be their cup of tea. So I've got to make sure I'm their cup of tea.
So you got to read the tea leaves. You got to
Absolutely.
basically sort of say, hang on, I can't get too hard on this person because this particular individual might get a bit nervous. Could be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
And then so you've got to nearly become a psychologist. You've got to be able to pick your mark. If you meet him in person, it's a bit easier because you can sort of look the way they sit and you can look at all their body language, etc. But if you're on the phones, that's a bit harder. I don't think most people realise how you guys prospect when you're younger anyway. It'd be different for you guys now. You would have clients who come to you all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, because referrals or they've been there before, relationships, etc.
Yep.
But when you're a young guy and you're on the phones and the guy that you're working under in the real estate agent gives you a list, and they may have a list from any number of sources, and they say, here's a list of 50 names of these phone numbers. Ring them up and see if they're interested in selling the house. Maybe you could just give us a bit of an insight as to how those young guys and girls, how they kick off their careers. I mean, how tough it is and how confronting that can be.
It's very confronting, but I think you've got to see what their MO is, what their motivation is. And I think you've got to be, they always talk about the purple cow, be that different person. But I think if you're genuinely intrigued in people's stories and who they are and what their motivation is and their needs. I heard another one, everyone's going to be coming in at a different altitude coming into lands. So some people are maybe at 5,000 feet, 3,000 feet, 1,000 feet. So you can't treat everyone the same. Some people are ready to land, some people aren't. So listing a property might be 5,000 feet away, 5 years away. But you could be 1,000 feet 1 year away or 1 month away. So you've got to always understand and read the play, ask the right questions. It can't be a robotic conversation. It's got to be personable. And I think people just generally relate to people who are genuine.
But you are inquiring into their personal life.
You are.
And it could be an intrusion. So
True.
Young guy gets on the phone. Hey, mate, what are you ringing me for? Like, where'd you get my number from?
Yeah.
What do young people do when that happens? A young real estate agent, what does he or she do? I mean, what do you suggest they do? Because you've obviously been through the early process. You're now a partner or a director of the company. You're in your 40s, so like you've been through that shit. What would you say to these younger people want to be in your industry so they don't get completely dislodged or disillusioned with what it is they've chosen as a career?
I think they've got to ask. I know, coming back to that and not getting too personal, you're not going to ask them their financial status or anything like that. But how can I help you? What is it that I can help you with? Where are you going? Where do you want to be? When do you want to sell? Timeline. Work out what their motive is, what their, what it is that is going to help them. Rather than help you in your pocket, always put your focus on how it's going to reflect on them. And I always think that if you're helping people, it'll help you later on down the track. It all sorts itself out. So for me, the financial status isn't what drives me. It's, I suppose, for me, making a number of sales or whatnot, that actually gets me up in the morning. But the same thing is the motive of that for a customer. If they can't see that commission breath there, then they tend to open up a little bit more. So my biggest thing was be natural, be yourself. Don't be like everybody else and asking those, those grilling questions, you're going to come to the market today, you're going to do all that kind of stuff. And people freeze up, open-ended questions. Don't, of course you're going to have some structure to the play, but, otherwise you're going to be there for 4 hours talking to these people and then you go nowhere. But you've got to find out what their motives are and how you can help them. I think that's really a strong thing.
So tell me about what's going on in the Parramatta area. So like generally in terms of dwelling prices, demand, supply, and I do want to, and I'll park this, but I do want to touch on it. What's the rental market like?
Rental market is diabolical.
In other words, it's short.
It's short, and our vacancy rate's well under 1%.
Wow.
And it's scary because we've got a lot of migration. They were saying that CoreLogic and Macquarie Bank were telling us that 5% of the population resides in, or starts off their journey in Parramatta region.
That's 5% of the migrant population.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And as you know, with COVID and everything, it's all backed up. So we've got tens of thousands of people coming in. I think there's something like 260,000 people coming into Australia over the 12 months, and that's a huge number.
Do they actually come into your store, like into your shop front?
Yeah, absolutely.
And say, we got to rent something. You got anything?
Yes, absolutely. And it's really frustrating because I've never had so many people in my career under stress of trying to find a property. I've got, people you haven't heard from for years, and I'm at no power to help them because it's a landlord's decision ultimately. It's our advice to provide the best tenant for that property. And when you've got a multitude of tenants fighting for this one property, it's quite sad because you want to help those people as much as you can, but you can't. You just don't have the stock to assist.
Does this drive rents up though?
It does, and it has.
So do landlords landlords getting, relatively speaking, a much better yield on their properties today?
Yes.
Compared to say 18 months ago?
Absolutely. And I think, that unit market that we've got, our unit market's probably around about, the traditional 2-bedroom, 70 style, 80 style unit was previously, currently is around about 450 to 500,000, let's say. The rent for something like that was during COVID, not a good comparison, but it was around the 350. Now we're talking 450, so it's gone up $100.
So it's a full 5%.
It's a full 5%. So I actually see that market as a sweet spot for investors. To be looking around that 450 to 550 range if you're looking to invest, because that part of the market's going to grow. Your returns are great. A lot of the newer stock, around the 550s to 700 apartments, they're probably getting around the 550, maybe 600 a week. But I still think that sweet spot's probably for return is around that 450 to 550.
So do you think then, just on that one, given that on those numbers, it looks like the yields have got up to around 5% in terms of rental versus the purchase price?
Yep.
In either category, in either the older apartments or the new apartments, but it seems like pretty much both happening. And there's obviously clearly strong demand for people to go and rent these places, and obviously it's low supply of new stuff. Does that mean that you expect the price to reset to go back to a 3% yield? In other words, if it's if it's a $500,000 apartment, it's getting $500 a week rent, whereas 18 months ago, 2 years ago, it was getting $350, which is more a 3.5% yield, which is generally speaking the more typical yield for dwellings in Australia, or it's definitely in Sydney. Would you then say that over time could end up meaning that the purchase price of that particular property is going to go up to $600,000?
Yes, I don't know.
And rents will stay the same.
Yeah, I think there's going to be slight more adjustment in rentals. I think we're starting to upwards.
Wow.
Yeah, it's scary stuff. But look, in saying that, I think we've got a lot of supply coming into the Merrylands space, a lot of high rise and so on. But they're going to be a higher point. You're going to be a $600-$700 per week rentals, which baffles me. And there's going to be a lot of that coming. There's over 2,000 properties being built currently at the moment. So that will satisfy some of it, but it's not going to satisfy every price point. And when you're coming, if I was to go overseas, if I was to travel to London, I'm not going to start at the high rent yield. Plus, I want to get into the property market myself ASAP. But then the banks aren't going to give you can tell me this, well, the first 12 months, you've got no chance.
Yeah.
So I'm predicting that in the next 12 months, we're going to start to see these migrants coming over, new country, that 260,000, people, let's say, finding a new home. That bottom end of the market's going to be a sweet spot. You're going to find that potentially is going to have some growth right there. You got, the investors will also be in play. So I think it's going to have a knock-on effect later on. So that's why I predict it's going to happen. But
and tell me about Parramatta now, just the town, the city of Parramatta.
Sure.
I mean, because amenity sells property a lot of times, and access to amenity. Parramatta's gone through a massive refurb. Parramatta, the city.
Yeah.
It's got the light rail. There's been paving all everywhere. There's brand new big buildings going up there. There's government departments moving into some of these massive big commercial buildings that Lane Walker's been building. Then at the bottom of the buildings, there's the access to the railway station. There's the new tunnel access to Parramatta, both to Parramatta and from Parramatta back to the city and other places for that matter, to airports. Has Parramatta now and surrounding areas, has Parramatta become a much more attractive place to live?
It has. We're finding that Parramatta itself, you've got a lot of retirees actually moving into Parramatta, which is really unusual. So
you mean downsizers?
Yeah. So people that have gone from that traditional 3-bedroom brick veneer home, in the burbs and might in surrounding areas of Parramatta, they really see the cultural aspect of Parramatta rising. You know, it's not quite a new town, but restaurant scene's really strong.
Yeah, totally.
So Eat Street's fantastic. You can go there and it's absolutely pumping at
East
night.
Street, by the way, is Church Street. Is it Church Street?
Church Street, yeah.
Which is where the light rail is.
Correct.
Which copped a bad time for maybe 10 years
Yeah,
because
that
it was
was
all
really poor
boarded off.
timing.
But now that's all been removed now, pretty much.
Yeah, it's getting there, and I think it's still got a bit of way. I think a lot of restaurants did suffer. It was just bad timing, I think. But I could see the foresights there. But we're generally seeing that is an attraction to Parramatta as well. It's the culture, and I think the surrounding suburbs, if like the Westmeads, the Merrylands as we are, and the Wentworthvilles, and those surrounding suburbs actually are really benefiting from Parramatta's ecosystem.
So are you seeing vendors say, hey, I want to sell our house. We've been in this house for 50 years. We don't have to mow the lawns and all that stuff anymore. We want to reduce our debt or rather sell this property, buy in Parramatta a nice new apartment because we want to enjoy the lifestyle there and go for a stroll along the river and enjoy the infrastructure, the amenities are there, and then bank some money. Are you seeing much of that? Like
we are.
Sell downs?
Yeah, we're not seeing a lot of it, but we're seeing more regularly. We're traditionally not seen that before, but now because of the cultural change and what Parramatta can offer you, has definitely, people are normally tree change or sea change, but now we're starting to see people go towards that environment, and it's good to see actually. It's good for Parramatta anyway. I know Parramatta's been flagged as probably overpopulated building wise, construction wise, and a lot of the banks have flagged it. But I'm starting to see these people who have liquidity there are able to jump in and buy. And
just take me through this for a bit now, because I haven't been to Parramatta before. Actually, funny you should say this, because Yellow Brick Roads, we just opened our branch in Parramatta because we're getting a lot of demand. And we've got 4 young new brokers in there. Interesting about their ethnicity: Lebanese, subcontinent Indian, let's call, a Chinese Chinese guy, girl rather, and an Aussie guy. And so that talks about sort of culturally what you're talking about. We've got a real mix of cultures there, of buyers and renters. You've also got a mix, therefore, generally speaking, you've got a mix of churches that represent all of those people. Then generally speaking, you've got a mix of communities that represent all those people. And then generally speaking, if you've got a community that represents all of those ethnic groups, generally speaking, you're going to have restaurants that represent all of them.
definitely.
Which if you're none of those things and you turn up inside there, you can say, oh shit, tonight we're going to try this, and tomorrow night we're going to try that, and on Saturday night we're going to take the kids out of this joint. Just take me through what Parramatta looks like today. You've got obviously got the Parramatta Stadium for rugby league. Just take me through some of the highlights of Parramatta, the city, as a place to visit if you live in Merrylands or the surrounding areas, Westmead, etc.
Yeah, well, basically, like you said, the restaurants, we've got just about, in the first we had the Greeks and the Italians and the Maltese. That was like the founding bricks, and then you had the Lebanese and the Arabic cultures. And then on top of that, we had Chinese, Indian cultures, and then on top of that, we've had more recently Afghans and Iraqis and all kinds of. So we've got this whole amazing melting pot. If you want to get a feed, go to Parramatta.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And we're talking about the main street.
Main Street, but you can go to areas like if you go to Harris Park.
Yeah, well, the Indian
famous
people.
for India.
Unbelievable.
Go and get your food Indian food at Harris Park. It's the best.
And it's funny, you should say, because I was invited by the mayor of Parramatta, I think 2 years ago, to go to help them out, sort of promote Diwali, which was only a couple of weeks ago. But I did this time last year. Oh my God, that part of Parramatta, Harris Park, that main road there just lit up. There was entertainment. There were people all dressed up in cool, Indian clothes. All the restaurants were open at night. I was eating a whole lot of them, desserts and main meals and stuff like that. And it was just entertainment going on. It was pretty cool. It went for a couple of weeks, actually. I went there on the last night, but it went for a couple of weeks. And the mayor was embracing it at the time. It was a female mayor. And I thought to myself, Parramatta town, well, the city of Parramatta, is actually starting to really come of age. At that point, it hadn't quite, all the development work hadn't quite sort of completed, but it was getting close. And also, you got some big government agencies now operating there. Some big government agencies. So Parramatta is for me, Parramatta is on fire as a place.
And we've got a lot of hard-working people there, and they're culturally used to working long days, and then they party at night. So they have restaurants with their families and dinners, and normally big cultures. Like, you take the Lebanese, they've got a very centered, family-orientated world. And, when they celebrate at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
And the Indians do too. They
and
go
Indians
late.
as well. Yeah. So, and I suppose then they stay close to one another because they've got this great family unit. So when they go to buy, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
They buy together.
Yeah.
And that's another thing we see a lot.
That pushes the price up too.
It does. It does.
So tell me then, if you're a new buyer, a younger person, and you're wanting to get into the market, you can't afford to buy in the more expensive parts of Westmead or whatever. You can't afford to buy there. But you don't want to live too far away from your family. How far does the reach of your organisation go that you would suggest someone would buy their first property, and it might be just to rent out, not to live in, just to rent out.
Sure.
I mean, how far does your reach go? Like, where would you say? Would you say to them, Guildford, Granville? What would you say?
I think Guildford's a great area. I think it's a bit underrated. You can still pick up something for 850s, 950s.
That's a
for a
house.
house. For a house, might need a bit of attention, but you can still get into the market, and that's for a house. And if you were to put a granny flat on that, maybe if it's over 500 square metres, I think
the land size is
the land size, 450 plus, you can build something with a granny flat at the back, and it might cost you 150,000. You might buy it, put the 150,000 on the granny flat. It's paid off in 6 to 8 years. It's a pretty good deal. With 2 incomes, hopefully you can stay with mum and dad for a little bit initially. That's what we're seeing. But I think that would be a really good start. Maybe live in it for the front part. And
you can live in the granny flat for that matter.
That's right, exactly right.
I mean, if you want to make a few sacrifices.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good idea too.
So are you seeing many people coming from other suburbs outside of Parramatta into Parramatta now?
Yeah, we are. Look, we do every now and then a postcode search. So we'll ask where you're coming from. So we're finding a lot of people migrating from, say, anywhere from the inner suburbs. So we've got a customer today from Marrickville. So Marrickville traditionally is going to be your twos, in the twos, and we're at the ones. So it's half the cost. So if we're adding a lot of value, and as you said, you've got the hub there, and we're also finding that with police department headquarters and Sydney Water and CBA and the law courts, they've brought a lot of business or infrastructure there and also jobs to the area. So we're seeing people gravitating more to that. And obviously the government's looked at to decentralise the Sydney CBD to make it more accessible for a lot of the staff. And, coming here this morning from that, if I was to come from Merrylands, it'd take me a good, by car, maybe 90 minutes, So whereas you could travel the other way, if you come from, say, Concord to Merrylands, it's 15 minutes. Going the other way from, say, Penrith towards Merrylands, maybe St Mary's, it's double that. So there's a real benefit of being in the middle of Sydney opposed to further out.
Yeah, Parramatta's now the middle.
It is.
Yeah, and
geographically.
Geographically, yeah, no, that makes sense too. Because like if you're a trader and you work out at Penrith,
yep.
Or Penrith direction, Parramatta's a good option for you.
Yeah.
By the way, Penrith's a pretty good option too. But like because it's not too bad, and if you're a trader and you've got to work east of Parramatta, with all the new road systems, particularly all the new tunnels, which have just been launched, and they're obviously everyone's got to work out how they'll work. There's a bit of a nightmare trying to work out where to go, which road to get on. But government is encouraging people to get on those freeways or those whatever they call them, tollways now. And there has been a lot of work by the Minns government and the Perrottet government prior to that, and Berejiklian. There's been a lot of work to recognise the importance or the significance of a place like Parramatta relative to everywhere else. And therefore, if you're an investor and or a potential buyer, this has got to be put onto your consideration list. Parramatta and surrounding areas have got to get put onto your consideration list as somewhere to potentially to invest in and or to buy. Prognosis, property market for your territory, okay?
Sure.
For your hood, what do you say? Next 12 months.
Next 12 months. I think it's going to be on the way up. but I think initially, I think there's going to be a little bit of flatness there. July through to November, it's been good stock levels. So meaning the more listings have come to market a bit earlier. I think that was probably instigated by vendors feeling comfortable with where rates were and where the direction of the market might be.
And prices were pretty good.
And prices were great. So July, we're actually very short of stock prior. And traditionally, it does dip off in the middle. But when you start to head upwards, when you have more stock into the market, it's really your buyer to seller ratio. How many sellers are on the market? How many buyers are in the market? So traditionally, November's our peak in our area of when we've got most listings. But what we're finding is that it come early, and we had some good consistent months. Now, we're already seeing in November, we're probably about 25% down on last month on listings, and we anticipate that to drop again in December
on available properties
properties for sale. So at the moment, we're running at a high numbers of stock because the last 3 months or 4 months have been good listing months. But then we are going to start to see it tip off. We're already starting to see market appraisals dropping off a little bit, and user is the listing. So we'll start to see that drop off early. So we're actually starting to get our stock on board for December release to sell in January before the March stock gets on board. So that's another point of the market where we see a spike. So we try to position our properties, our vendors' properties, on the market with the best amount of activity around them and competition. So we pass this information on to our vendors.
And what are vendors' expectations look like in terms of pricing? Are they realistic, or vendors are wanting really top value, or what's the deal?
Yeah, look, we've still got some thinking around that, July, October range thinking, and there has been a little bit of a dip off, and the rates didn't help. I think, obviously a lot of people lost money on the Melbourne Cup, and so they did also with the rates, and we are starting to see a little bit of stress there. I think it was the nail in the coffin for some people. So there is going to be a bit of stress, and there's also the expectations haven't quite weaned for some people. They haven't really come back into where the reality is.
Vendor expectations.
Vendor expectations. So as soon as we have a rate hike, we see the next weekend really quiet. The next weekend back to half strength. The next weekend back to about 75%, and we'll get back to normal. People do forget. People still have to buy. They just wane a little bit. So I think that we'll find it will get back on track, and stock will start to peter out towards December, and we'll start to see that ratio coming back in line, and we'll start to see a bit more stability there.
Late January, early
February. Yeah. Even starting mid-January onwards will be strong.
So mid-January things start to move along again?
Yeah, look, we start on the 2nd. We go back to work on the 2nd of January.
Wow.
So, but we're ready. You've got to look at our cultures in our area. It's a different culture.
Yeah, they're not Christmas really.
No.
Yeah.
So, and they're working. And when do they get time off?
Yeah, they're back to work.
Yeah. So you've got to understand your local market.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, fortunately for the media, they generalise things because that's what they can do. They can't give a story for every single part of the market. But we're in a particular segment of the market where we've got a very multicultural and different religions believing different things. So it all affects the market.
And also in terms of jobs. I mean, they maybe don't have the luxury of taking 3 weeks off and flying to Aspen and skiing or whatever.
Or Europe, like you were talking about. Everyone was in Europe. Yeah.
So it's people go back to work. Because,
that's right.
Christmas is over, Boxing Day's over, New Year's Day's over, and I'll take my holidays later in the year.
Yep.
When my kids are on school holidays, maybe and go somewhere we can afford. But right now, I've got to go back to work.
Yeah, that's right.
And wife's got to go back to work, and kids are doing their best.
And sometimes they're so busy throughout the year that that's the only time they can actually purchase.
Yeah.
So as well. So.
Well, I look forward to watching what's going on in your neck of the woods in Sydney. And I guess Parramatta is, I've been a big rap on Parramatta for a long, long time, or surrounding districts of Parramatta. So Daniel Starr from Starr Partners, thanks very much for coming on, mate.
Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate it.